Hello, everyone. I am Cartoon Kitsune, and welcome back to another session of Shattered Reflections. As always, I am here with my lovely players. If you all would please introduce yourselves from top to bottom and your characters.
Hello, that's me. I'm Avi. I'll be playing Shiro Azumi yet again.
And Kuro. Don't forget Kuro.
Bro!
The goodest boy.
Hi, I'm Candlestick, and I'm going to be playing Dr. Crystal Everlight.
Hello, I'm Oatmeal, and I will be playing the professor.
Alrighty. So, when last we left everyone, you guys entered into Evelyn's area, which was very dark, magically dark, in fact, and only Prof is the only one who could really see much. You found Evelyn rather quickly, only to watch her get killed by a shadow. But then she popped up again, mysteriously enough, and you found out that this was not the core Evelyn, so to speak, but rather a fragment of her. There was a bit of tension between her and the party, to say the least. This one was not terribly trusting of folks outside of their little system, but eventually she begrudgingly agreed to help you guys find the core Evelyn, mostly to get you guys out of their minds sooner. There was a bit of traveling throughout the very twisted and sort of constantly warping area of this place. Eventually, though, you came across this circus, which both A and Evelyn seemed to kind of be dreading and wanting to avoid because of some stuff that had happened between them last time A came through here. And their fears were definitely justified because once they headed in, there was a crowd of shadows watching them, and in the center of the ring was this. Well, at first it appeared to be a jester doll, but then it quickly transformed into a more humanoid form. And said Jester had some very not nice things to say about Evelyn. Something about wanting to keep her here to basically just keep tormenting her so she wouldn't be a problem for people outside of this place. Fortunately, though, you guys beat the tar out of her and her little shadow minions. Unfortunately, this did end up using up quite a bit of the Evelyn fragment's energy. But you guys took a bit of a rest in a much more peaceful place. This sort of courtyard covered in these white and red roses. You all had a bit of a heart-to-heart with the Evelyn fragment before she used the last of her strength to get you guys into the area where she suspected that Angelique might be hiding, that being this big mirror maze. And indeed, once you guys were in there, you managed to find Angelique, or rather her reflection in the rows and rows of mirrors. And upon spotting you, she had this to say: "Please, please just leave me alone." And that is where we currently are. So, if you guys want, you can roll perception to try and follow the sound of her voice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so that is a 10 for Professor, a 13 for Crystal, and a 17 for Azumi. So I'm going to say Azumi probably manages to catch where the sound is coming from. It's definitely a bit trickier in this area because her voice is kind of echoing all around you. So I think at first it's kind of hard to tell where exactly it's coming from. But Azumi, you managed to pinpoint it down a certain way, so you guys can start heading in that direction if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Azumi just kind of gestures for the others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the place to hesitate, even though it is another maze.
Definitely, because as was mentioned at the end of last session, Angelique's the cracks all over her body have gotten visibly worse, and you're not sure how much longer she's going to hold out without some kind of healing.
Yeah, so I think Azumi is just gonna
Yeah.
try to follow the sound of her voice.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And as you guys are going, you can still see her like in the reflections all around you. You see her kind of like getting up, and she's holding the regalia, her like which is shaped like a golden scythe, and she's kind of like using it to stand herself up, and is sort of kind of trying to limp away. It calls out, stay there. We'll come to you. I said, please, don't. I can't.
Please stop running from us.
No. You're gonna take it from me. I can't.
We're not going to do anything that'll hurt you.
But you need help.
Why should I believe you? You should know
Because
what I.
right now you are injured and cannot do anything else. So your two options are to limp on without any hope of getting yourself recovered, or trusting the people with healing magic on hand.
You cannot keep doing this. You're going to kill yourself at this rate.
I think at this point, like her attempts to limp away, like she like it doesn't really work. So she's just got you see her in the reflections, sort of like collapsed to her knees, still leaning against the cane part of her scythe. Why why would you want to help me? You must know what I did by now.
Well, it's
Did you?
because we're stupid. Anyway.
I don't know. I think you deserve a chance to live.
And she kind of like from the way the reflections are, it looks like all of them are sort of glaring in your guys' direction, particularly in A's direction somehow. And she says, "Did you really not tell them what I tried to do to you?" "No, I told them. I told them everything, but then you should know why healing me would be a bad idea. I was going to leave you for dead. Why don't you understand that? I was willing to just leave you there so I could have a chance to exist, and I'd do it again if I had the chance. Why?"
How about shh, 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 shh.
Mhm.
I've had quite enough of girls going on and on about a lack of self-worth, quite frankly. So please, for the sake of my growing headache, just shut up for a second. It doesn't matter anymore. If she has decided you worthy of that help, that's not on you.
And she has indeed quieted down. She's just now the reflections are all staring at you wide-eyed in just disbelief. And you can see you don't even have to roll an insight to see it's the clear utter confusion on her face right now. Like she just can't comprehend why you guys would want to help her in spite of everything you've heard about what she tried to do. So she's just kind of sitting there dumbfounded. And I think at this point, now that she's like kind of stopped moving, you guys, it's actually kind of fortunate that she was like saying all this stuff because it helped you guys to find her. Because eventually you turn the corner and you see her kneeling in the middle of one of these hallways. And once she catches sight of you, she kind of like snaps out of her stupor, and she's still too ill exhausted to move, but she clutches the regalia very tightly in her hands, almost defensively, and she just kind of like glares at you in a mixture of like sort of fear, anger, but mostly all above confusion.
Yeah, that glare's not going to do much. Crystal was going to approach, honestly, because
Mm-hmm.
hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You keep holding on to that. We're not going to take it. Not until we've talked.
He's right, Angelique. It doesn't matter if I need that or not. You're more important than that right now. We really do want to help you. Just can you please just trust us for just a moment? I promise I don't want to hurt you, okay? And she's still clutching the scythe pretty tightly, but she it kind of, I'm trying to think how to describe this. It kind of like shifts down a little bit, like it's not like as like attempting to be on the attack, and you get the sense that like she's sort of lowering her guard just slightly, just to see like what you'll do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to roll a medicine.
Please do. Yeah.
It's really not great, but hopefully a modifier should help that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's more than enough. The DC was pretty low considering. She looks awful right now. It's not just the cracks running all up and down her body. You can see like she's trying to keep like her expression in check, but you can see that she's like has very like haggard like short breaths. Like like she's out of breath. Like she's been running for so long. You can imagine. And she's got like some like dark circles under her eyes from just like the sheer exhaustion of it.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I know the others have healing, but I also have something that I can do as Crystal, which I took recently, but I haven't used yet, is she does have the healer's feat.
Okay.
Let me just find it. You can use the healer's kit. Spend 1 use of a healer's kit to tend to a creature and restore 1d6 plus 4 hit points to it.
Alrighty.
Mm-hmm. Plus additional hit points equal to the creature's maximum number of hit dice.
Alrighty.
It's usually your level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so yeah, she's gonna pull that the med kit out, and I'm going to roll that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know what her hit level is, so you can add that to it.
Alright, yeah.
Yeah, that's 6 points.
Right. Let me see what her hit die would be. Alright, I'm just gonna roll this off to the side here. Okay. Out of curiosity for flavor, because I know inmates are part of the setting, with the Milltown Hospital and whatnot. Is the like healing antibiotic quote unquote gel like a thing that they use at the Milltown Hospital?
No, because I primarily had that as a hope heart thing specifically.
Gotcha. I was just curious. Yeah. So yeah, in that case, Candle, do you want to describe like how Crystal would go about like kind of like taking care of her?
I mean, probably probably like sort of like mostly ignoring her for the most part, other than like small commands to like like move here, turn that way, so that like raise your arm, I need to like that sort of thing, and then
Right.
just start with the parts that look the worst, and then probably just mostly like bandaging and a bit of like I'm not 100% sure what counts as like the mixture of like modern medicine and magical medicine in this setting, but just like the kind of generic like treatment of it.
Right. You probably have to put like a couple of bandages over the cracked areas, so you might have to like wrap a couple around her face. She's definitely like very tense the entire time, but A is actually right by your side while you're working on this, and just like saying like little words of comfort, like don't worry, we're here to help, like that sort of thing. And as it goes
Yeah,
on,
she's
yeah.
Crystal's trying to remain like calm, but she's also trying to do this as like quickly as possible because she does not know how long this trust is going to last.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say that as this kind of goes on and it becomes like clearer and clearer to her that like you guys aren't going to attack her or like steal her scythe away or anything like that, she actually does like kind of submit to like the treatment and like let you do what you need to do. I think by the end of it, you probably have to like wrap a couple bandages like around her head and like probably the arm on her. I think I said it was the left side that like the cracking was the worst. I think you can probably wrap the bandages though, like around her face in a way that like she's still able to see out of like her left eye though.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would probably try and keep as much visibility possible without risking not doing it
Mm-hmm.
properly.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. Eventually, you get to her to a point where like she seems like a lot more stable. Like some of the cracks, you were able to like heal over them.
Yeah, probably ends with something like, "All right, that should do for now. It won't be it won't it's a temporary holdover for now."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's
May
kind of
I
just like
try a little?
yeah. I think she's kind of like glancing idly at her like bandaged arm, and she says like, huh, you know, I could still. I've got every reason to just like take this moment to betray you right now. I mean, I could just grab her pocket mirror and run off again.
You would
Why?
have done that by now.
Not sure how far you would get.
Mm.
So you can't just say that.
Yeah, I think she clutches like the handle of the scythe a little tighter, like just for a moment when she hears that.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fucking thing that Azumi has handed me, and I think it might be part of my own tiredness from work today coming bleeding through.
Mm-hmm.
But like he was like, "Well, if you ran off, I would just shoot your leg."
Does he actually say that?
No.
I just
I
imagine.
mean, then I would kill him.
There's a reason that Crystal was like, "Yeah, I don't know how far you would get," because
Mhm.
none of them are gonna let her do that, but that doesn't mean they're not
Definitely.
gonna help her.
Right.
I have some magic for the purpose of healing. May I try it?
She kind of like looks away, but like she's not gonna stop you. So A's nodding that like you should try it.
Yeah. All right, then 4th level cure wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Um that's gonna be 32 points of healing.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, yeah, that definitely
Um
helps a lot.
yeah, he just has to like tap her on the shoulder because it is a touch spell.
Yeah, she definitely like instinctively flinches a little bit, but other than that, she's fine. And indeed, you see more of the cracks healing up until she's pretty much like all healed up at this point. Or at the very least, if there are any cracks left, they're very small and like don't look like they'd be as much of a danger to her. And she
Mhm.
looks like really surprised like this. Like almost like she didn't really think that like anything you guys could do would actually make a difference.
I have more of that if you want it.
She just kind of like glances down at the ground and she mutters, "I'm I'm not your friend, A. No matter how much you want me to be. I I was created to take that pocket mirror from you. That's
Is that
well,
what you want to do? Oh.
well, maybe that's what you were made for, but that doesn't mean that's all you have to be. I mean, you remember when we were heading to the exit and we were talking, I was telling you all about, where I came from and well, all sorts of things like carousel horses and drinking tea together, and you said you wanted to do those together, right? That was I was just lying to get to you. I didn't mean any of it. I wanted to do those things. I didn't care if you were. And you guys can roll an insight on here if you wanna.
Wow. I was about to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say everyone gets this. Professor might not get like more of like the finer minutia of what she's feeling, but it's pretty obvious. When she said I'm not your friend A, no matter how much you want me to be. You get the sense that she wasn't just talking about A. Like she very much doing the scenery thing right now, for lack of a better term.
Mm.
So I'd say with like the 24 and 21 for Azumi and Crystal, you get the sense that it's more of like when she's saying that she was lying, you get the sense that like maybe that might have been the case at first, like maybe when she was quote unquote born, like her only goal really was to steal the pocket mirror so that she could become real. But if she and A spent time together, there's a very good chance that like something might have changed in the process of that. But she's just like reluctant to admit that something had changed.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Ha.
Azumi snorts at her.
She just kind of like glares at you like what? What are you laughing about?
Oh, sure, that might have been what you thought at the time, and it certainly isn't what you think now, is it?
she she kind of goes wide-eyed for a moment. You see like a little blush on her cheeks, and then she just like turns away and crosses her arms, and is like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry. Sorry.
No, it's alright.
Hang on, hang on. Let me, I think what he ends up saying, he kind of just puts his hands on his like on his wrists, on his hips. I can talk. God. Uh, and he says, you know, the Tunkind have a word for how you're behaving right now, and it's originated in Tezukanada. They call that tsundere.
Yeah, I think Angelique's still not looking at you, but A just kind of like looks at you with like his big innocent eyes, and it's just like, what's Sindari mean?
When someone is acting like they don't like you, but in truth they do.
You hear Angelique just like grumble under her breath, like, it's not it at all, it's not.
Mm. Typical Tsundere.
Zooey nods.
She was just like burying her face in her knees now and like covering her face with her hands.
But in all seriousness, the matter of your creation, the circumstances of your creation don't necessarily matter. You don't have to continue to be what you were created to be.
Yeah, and I I'm not sure if it's just as simple as maybe you don't need the pocket mirror to become real. I mean, and I think A kind of crouches down next to her and puts a hand on her shoulder. When the other girls, my alters, when they gave me their regalia, they shattered too. But when I woke up, they were all back. So I was thinking maybe there's a chance if, but only if you want to. I'm like I said, I'm not going to take it from you if you don't want me to. But maybe if you do give it to me, there's a chance that you can, I don't know, reintegrate into her system somehow. I think Angelique finally kind of like looks up at her and gives her like kind of a curious look, like, so I'd be one of you guys and sharing your body, you mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's it's one solution. You'd really want me to be a part of you? Well, yeah. I mean, even if you don't want to admit it, I'm fine admitting that I'd like to be friends with you.
It,
Oh,
Kit?
hello, hello,
Kit!
guys, can you hear me? Always when I'm doing these big like emotional speeches, I
Kit!
get cut out.
yeah.
Ah,
Kit!
beans. Hold on, folks. Technical difficulties.
Hello.
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 We're
Hi.
Hi.
here.
Okay, what part did I start to cut off at?
Okay. It was after.
You'd really want me to be a part of you guys or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get back into it. Well, yeah. I don't know about how the other girls would feel about it, but I'd be okay with it. I mean, just whether or not you want to be my friend, or whether or not you want to admit it, I I want to be your friend, and I wouldn't mind having you around here too, especially if it means that you still get to exist. I know it's not really your own body, but and before she can finish that thought, Angelique suddenly like moves towards her and wraps her arms around her and like just gives her a big hug. And you can see Angelique's shoulders are kind of shaking as she's presumably sobbing into A's shoulder.
Mm,
Mm. Mm.
Just give them a moment.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think they just kind of sit like that. I think A is probably surprised for like a few moments, but then like she gently hugs her back, and they just kind of like sit there for a bit. And I think that they're probably sitting there for a little while because you guys get the sense that Angelique has been like holding a lot in while she's been running from you guys, and she really kind of needs this like catharsis.
Hmm.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think Professor just looks to the other two just quietly, like
Hmm.
she was technically derived from A's personality. It could be possible.
Hmm. That's true. I mean, if she has a piece of regalia, that must mean maybe the prince made her from part of me, or something like that.
Perhaps.
Hmm.
I'm cycling through things Azumi wants to say because most of them are just, I want to kill the prince now. I'm just like, you can't just say that. Nope, you can't say you want to stab him either.
I mean, you can. The question is, will you?
I think that just makes me further upset with that Prince of Gourds. Prince. So pretentious.
Yeah, I think at this point, Angelique's calmed down enough, and when she hears that, she's definitely like, ugh, don't even get me started on that guy.
Hmm.
He's the freaking worst.
Is there anything you can tell us about him?
God damn, Azumi was about to ask the same thing.
Ah,
Now I'm imagining like both Azumi and Prof like saying it at the exact same time.
I'm imagining that that Prof says it first and Azumi glares at him because he wanted to say it.
His mouth opens and Prof got there first.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what I can. I don't know everything about him, unfortunately. He didn't really tell me much. I think at this point, Angelique's able to kind of stand up, and A stands up with her. She kind of dusts herself off. Well, he's definitely some kind of devil. He was very very specific that it's a devil for whatever reason. I don't really get what the difference is, but anyway,
There's a whole hierarchy.
uh, she kind of tilts her head with like shrugs. She doesn't really seem to care very much. Well, anyway, he created me and then told me to get the pocket mirror because that's the only way I'd be able to become a real person. And I guess he must have like made this place, or hmm, I know there are parts of it that definitely seem a lot more like him, and the rest seem like they were made by the other girls. So yeah, I don't
Hmm.
really. Hmm. But for whatever reason, he wanted me to get the pocket mirror, and there's the whole thing with your name. Uh, right. From what we can tell, it seems like he took my name, and hmm. Well, that might be why he's still squatting in your head, or whatever this place is. Why he's able to still mess with you like this. I mean,
Hmm.
hmm. Well, he had you go through there and collect all the pieces, or maybe he didn't want you to collect the pieces. I mean, he's been hunting me down too to try and keep the regalia away from you. So maybe if you get all of it, you'll get your name back or something, and then that'll chase him out of here.
Well,
Hmm.
if you have all of those pieces and he doesn't, then at the very least he doesn't really have any bargaining material.
Yeah, that's right. So if if I can give you the last piece of regalia without dying, if you're sure that I'll come back, well, I can't say I'm 100% certain, but I think it's possible at least. If but only if you're willing to try. Like I said, I'm not going to force you. Well, if I do go out, then if I can at least take that stupid jerk with me, then at least I wouldn't have died for nothing, right?
Hmm.
Mm.
I don't think he could have fulfilled his promise to you anyway. I don't think that taking that pocket mirror would have uh, made you quote unquote real.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, well, that much is obvious. And she kind of holds her arm up with like the still slightly cracked with the bandages.
quite.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he has the power to do that at all, the devil as he may be. He's able to do all this inside of a mind, but outside it,
Hmm.
to generate a whole separate body, that's uh, advanced, to say the least.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I, I'm pretty sure he's always going on about like making deals and stuff. I guess those deals must be how we can like do stuff like this. Like
Hmm.
maybe there's something special about them. I don't know. I just know that part's important to him. So.
Yes,
Hmm.
it tends to be for those sorts.
Hmm. So I guess now we kind of have a plan at least. If we can get to the exit, which hopefully should be easy enough, if we just go further into the Hall of Mirrors, it should lead us there.
Did we? Hmm.
Oh, right, we still need to find Evelyn too. Oh, right, the that other girl. If we're going to her, is it okay if I not that I'm scared of her or anything, but Can I maybe hide behind you guys just so she doesn't see me? Like I said, I'm not scared of her or anything, but yeah, I don't want to get stabbed by her weird scissors or anything.
Yes, that's fine. Did we ever get that letter from Evelyn? Piece of the
Uh,
letter.
no, remember, the fragment, we met wouldn't have it. It's, the one that we're
Oh,
searching
that's
for.
right.
Yeah.
Of course, of course, of course.
The good news is, we're really close. I remember from last time. I think I can find a way through here, and that should take us, straight to where she is. I just hope
Hmm.
that she's still alright.
Angelique, would you have a piece of this letter?
She shakes her head. No, I never got a piece of that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Uh, alright, I guess, follow after me then. And, A will, take the lead because, she seems to know her way around here.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeehaw.
yeah, so you guys kind of, like, head through, like, kind of the opposite direction of where Angelique was, and it takes a little bit of walking. Eventually you find one particular mirror that, A notes is, like, seemingly the correct one, and, you're able to pass through it, and this one, rather than the Hall of Mirrors, it leads you to this, it looks like this really like tall like this really tall hill, like a really steep hill, and in the and off in the distance you can see what looks like a town silhouetted against this giant full moon. Curiously enough, the silhouettes of the town, it almost looks like it was painted, like someone like did a painting of all these buildings. And the hill that you're on is covered in more of those white roses from before when you were in that safe area. And
Hmm.
so I assume you guys probably proceed up the hill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So yeah, you go up ahead, A taking the lead, and indeed, at the very top of the hill, sitting there, kind of looking out over the landscape beneath you, is Evelyn, and
Hello.
she kind of like she turns to look at you all, and she's quiet for a moment, and then a small smile graces her lips, and A goes right up to her and just gives her a great big hug, and Evelyn hugs her back. There you are. I'm so glad that you're safe. And I think eventually she'll let go of her and say, um, do you remember everyone else? And Evelyn nods, and she kind of like gives a shy little wave at you guys.
Hello.
Mhm.
Sorry, Crystal is handing me cursory medical checkup.
Oh, she can absolutely do that
Alright.
if she wants.
I don't know what to say. She's just like her standard response right now. Make sure you're okay.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. That is an 18. Yeah, no, she's completely fine. She still has those dark circles under her eyes, which like all the fragments of Evelyn seem to have. She seems like a little bit listless, but like not like dangerously so. More that she's like kind of a little bit sleepy.
Hmm.
Yeah. And she kind of like leans over to A and whispers something in her ear, and A says, "Oh, she says, thank you for earlier." And she leans in to listen again, and that she's sorry if her fragment was a little bit trying to think of like the right word to say this, um, mean to you guys. Sorry, I was trying to think of a nicer word for that, but
It's fine. It was not the best circumstances to meet.
hmm
Honestly, I've seen a lot worse.
hmm And you kind of hear Evelyn quietly mumble, "It's just a bit difficult to trust other people. I'm trying to work on it though."
Hmm.
So that certainly counts for something.
hmm Um, We came here to make sure that you were safe. All kinds of crazy stuff has been happening all over this place. But before anything else, though, do you have the? And before she can finish her thought, Evelyn holds up a crumpled piece of paper and hands it to her.
Hmm.
Oh, good. You have the last one. Thank you. And A will take it, and she'll hold it up to everyone else to read. And let me grab this. So here we have the final part of the letter. I will, as always, read it out and then I'll post the text of it. On that fateful night, I gained everything and lost everything. I believe this sacrifice of mine has benefited you, my dear. I exchanged my most beloved one for a dubious promise, one which has deprived you of your freedom. Oh, my dear children, how I regret this sacrifice of mine. Hidden away in the forest depths, I exchanged your name with a certain someone for a single chance at happiness. All I can ask of you now is your forgiveness, and to please keep your memories close to your heart.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it goes kind of quiet for a little bit, just kind of like reading over it a few times.
Are you alright, eh?
Well, well, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I'll be okay. At least now I can remember the whole thing. And what's more important is that, well, at least I was kind of right. She regretted what she did, so
Yes. What I'm confused about is how this was supposed to have benefited you. Or if they were speaking about somebody else.
I think Angelique chimes in like, "Yeah, I was wondering that part where it says beloved one. Was she talking about you or somebody or someone else?"
That individual we found out about earlier.
There was a Rosemary?
What was
Yeah, that's the one.
Right.
Hmm. I think we saw something similar too, where it's mentioned beloved one or something along those lines, and we weren't sure if she meant me or Rosemary. Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, we know she traded my name, but maybe I think something probably did happen to this Rosemary person.
Hmm.
Hmm. Well, I mean, the prince did promise us information if we got all the pieces of this. And Angelique kind of like gives her a shocked look, like, "Wait, you made a deal with the prince?" Well, more like he set us on a scavenger hunt. That's kind of how he worded it. He pretty much just told us to do this, and well, we've been finding the pieces as we've been going on. So, mm,
I'm not inclined to give this to him anyway.
Hmm.
Well,
yeah,
Right.
he ought to know all of this.
yeah, but that doesn't mean he'll. Just because he said he would doesn't mean he will. He lies all the time. I don't know. I don't think you should trust him. Oh,
We
Oh,
don't. But
yeah, we definitely don't.
this holds significance to him, at the very least.
For some reason.
Well, either that or he just sent you to find all the pieces just to amuse himself. That's like the main reason for like most of what he does.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah. A kind of reaches for Angelique's hand very gently, and Angelique flinches for a brief moment, but then she gently takes her hand as well. Yeah. Meanwhile, Evelyn's kind of been giving Angelique curious glances as she's piped up, and A will say, "Oh, you don't need to worry about her. She's with us now." And I think there's a brief moment where Angelique and Evelyn are just kind of giving each other there's kind of a stare down going between each other, sort of like a don't try anything sort of look.
Just... God.
Yeah.
Right now we have a common enemy. We can sort out other disagreements later.
Yeah, Evelyn will nod at that, and then A will say, well, we should get back. We should get back to the others now. And Evelyn kind of glances down to the ground and she kind of curls in on herself a little bit. And A says, don't worry about the other girls. I know you haven't always gotten along with them, but I I'll be right there with you, okay? And like they said, we've all got a common enemy right now, so I'm sure they won't mind you there. And yeah, Evelyn's still a little bit nervous, but she'll look up at A and nod. Even if she's a bit hesitant about going, you get the sense that at the very least she trusts A to have her back.
At least some of them ought to have the good sense to behave.
God, yeah.
Yeah. I think Angelique actually chimes in, well, hey, look at it this way. I mean, if they see me, they'll probably hate me more than you, so maybe they won't even notice you're there.
Oh, really stop that.
I think A kind of sweat drops, and Evelyn gives her a very deadpan look.
Well,
don't do that. Let's just go.
All right. So yeah, A will take Evelyn by the hand, and there's a flash of light. And when it clears up, you guys aren't on the hill anymore. You are in a hallway. And the moment you guys arrive here, there is just this overwhelming sense of warmth and comfort. And I'd say the most similar thing, I know Azumi and Prof would probably feel this, it's similar to when you guys, actually, I'm just gonna ask you guys, what place do you associate the most with home, with comfort and warmth and family, those kinds of sensations?
Simple to assume Azumi has one.
Closest would be, I guess, the ellipsis. Particular locations like the libraries. Usually, it has a nice fireplace and stuff like that. It's kind of cozy.
Makes sense. I was actually gonna say for Azumi, I would assume it would be possibly Leo and Camille's apartment, since so many people stay there.
Bold to assume he still doesn't have any have any hung up feelings about that.
Aw.
Okay. Well, actually, in that case, if Azumi's never kind of known this sort of feeling, it might almost I'm not sure if overwhelming is the right word, but it's definitely an unfamiliar sensation to him, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if we want to go this route, it would be his childhood home.
Oof.
Oof. Yeah.
God, can any of these three be normal? Because I'm struggling to think where Crystal feels most at home as well.
At least Fra had the library and the ellipsis.
I think she still feels like a sense of home where she's currently staying with TOC and Juniper, but oh god, no, that's kind of complicated.
Fair
Mhm.
enough. Well, it kind of works out because like A's doesn't really know like what the feeling of home is like either because well in part because she lost all her memories for a while, but also because like even when as she's been regaining her memories, like home didn't really feel all that much as home, save for like maybe when she was Colette's age and like before that. So really, it's kind of like a new sensation for all of you guys, in a way.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So normal.
Professor's definition of home has changed over time, but yes, he
Fair
can
enough.
recognize it at least.
Right. Well, you guys enter this hallway, and as you go along, you see there are doors along it, and each one has a nameplate on it. There's one for Colette and Lilibet, which they share. There's one for Lyra. There's even one for Evelyn. And as you go further in, you do see Lyra and Colette are further along. And this next part, I might do something with it later. Like, I might write a doc or, like, do my own little separate episode on it. But for now, I'm kind of going to gloss over it because it is all five of the girls plus Angelique in one place, and I do not want to break that
Mm.
many people all at once.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, here everybody is.
Yep. But yeah, just as a basic like kind of summary of like what happens when everybody meets up, there's definitely a bit of tension at first, like when the other girls see Evelyn. I think Colette and Lilibet probably hide behind Lyra for a moment. Lyra's trying to be placating and welcoming, but even with her, you can sense that like she's a little bit tense. There's a bit of like back and forth. At one point, Evelyn apologizes for something about pinning Lilibet to a wall and locking Colette in a chest, like a treasure chest. You're not sure what that's all about. But eventually, all the girls seem to come to some sort of understanding. At the very least, like they're more than accepting of letting Evelyn stay here. Angelique is getting quite a bit of side eye from the whole group, but A is able to explain that they've kind of formed a truce of sorts, and that they're all together, like against the prince and like trying to solve this whole problem, and that Angelique might be the key to a solution to getting rid of him once and for all.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And eventually, the conclusion the group comes to is that A and Angelique are going to stick with you guys and head to the exit, while the rest of the girls are going to stay here in the hallway where it's safe.
Probably a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Right. And at this point, we've been going for about an hour. Do you guys want to take a little break before we move on?
Yeah.
Sure.
Alrighty, I will pause for
Sounds good.
now. And we are back. So you guys head further into this very homey area, and you arrive at like kind of the end of the hall. There's sort of like a supply closet. It's got like some dresses on mannequins and like other bits and bobs. At the end of it, though, there is a very large ornate golden mirror, and A will step through it, and still holding Angelique's hand as well. And you guys can follow after her. And you guys arrive in a very familiar location. It is the floor beneath you. It's that red velvet-looking carpet that also looks like it's somehow painted or like drawn in crayon. And
Mm.
further up ahead, you can see like where the Hall of Mirrors is located. You can also see the ellipsis parked like in a little side area where you guys parked it. I think Angelique kind of like gives that a curious glance and points at it and is like, "What's with the box thing?"
That's his.
I think she looks at the professor like, "How'd you get it all the way here? Does it have wheels on it or something?"
No, it's how we got here. It teleports.
Whoa. She looks at the box again. What does police mean?
It doesn't say police on it, actually. It's a
Oh man.
telephone box, not a police. Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
okay, fair enough. All right, scrap that joke.
To be fair, if it says telephone on it, I don't think telephones are a thing in Faruba.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
right
They don't
on.
have those.
Yeah, so I think in that case she looks at it and she says, "What does telephony mean?"
Ah, a telephone. It's I don't know. Have you ever had don't know, can on a string?
Do you know?
Both of the girls are giving you like a very question mark look right now.
A
Do you know
string
what
with
a
a can
stone of
on each
far
end.
speech? Do you know what a stone of far speech is?
Hmm. They kind of think for a moment. Hmm. Well, I guess if based on the name, it lets you talk from far away.
Essentially, stone of far speech runs on magic. Telephone runs on technology, mostly metal and wires.
Hmm. Yeah, they nod. I think after that little side, though, they'll continue on forward.
Professor just preoccupied, like, you telling me kids don't still do the can on a string thing?
Crystal's hung up on that a lot of the telephones in Inkwell actually do run on magic. It's like
Mm.
50-50 if they're magic or if they're technology or a mixture of both.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Entirely fair.
I think um actually I'm gonna worry about that later, never mind.
Hmm.
I was thinking that like maybe Yeto has like very early telephones, like the kinds that were like instead of having an operator, they were just two connected telephones.
Like a single line. Like you
Yeah,
you can
Hmm.
send a message from point A to point B, but that's
that's
that's only
it.
if those points don't move.
Makes
Yeah, I mean
sense.
you probably have like what's the I don't know, telegraphs and stuff. That's probably big.
Hmm.
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know Agwell's kind of weird when it comes to technology in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. But yeah, so yeah, you guys go through the Hall of Mirrors, and you actually go further past than like you guys have been before. Um, and you reach what was originally a dead end. Beforehand it was a dead end. Now you see descending from kind of descending from up above. You see this big. It's like a swing that is made to look like a crescent moon that has like a face on it, and it's hanging from like these ropes tied up with ribbons.
Mm.
And A will say, oh, we need to ride this up to get to where the exit is. It's a bit of a walk, but we'll show you where it is. And both of the girls will climb onto the swing.
Yeah, I guess we'll get on the swing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. It's probably a bit more of a squeeze than when it was just the girls, but you all managed to fit comfortably on there.
Mm.
Yep. And once everybody is on, the swing lifts up into the air. And indeed, it does take a little while for it to rise up. So as you guys are going, Angelique speaks up and says, so I was wondering, you mentioned Inkwell was the name of the place you guys are from? What's what's that? What's it like?
Azumi looks to Crystal.
Mhm.
It varies very much depending on region, but I suppose the best way to describe it is well, different styles of art, really.
Hmm. Like drawings?
Mm, some of it, yes. It's mm, difficult to explain if you haven't seen it, but
Mhm.
There are other styles of things in some regions, but drawings, paintings. There are some regions of clay actually, but yeah, different art styles.
There are parts of it that are similar to what you might imagine from a storybook illustration. There, there are bits that tend to be rather whimsical. Others less so, but
Hmm. Yeah, she's just kind of like nodding and listening to you guys. She just seemed like pretty interested in whatever you guys have to say. Think A will also chime in and say, that's actually it's where I'm staying right now. The hospital that I'm staying at. Um, once we get through this though, maybe we can go and see a little more of it. And Angelique kind of like glances away from her and kind of mutters, shouldn't make promises you might not be able to keep. Hmm.
It's the thought that counts.
Hmm. Well, I can't guarantee I'll keep it, but well, we can hope that it'll all work out, right? Hmm.
Angelique, a word of advice. At least give yourself that one thing to hold on to.
Hmm. I I know it's just things have I don't know felt kind of hopeless lately. I mean, like I said, for as long as I had been alive, which wasn't very long, I thought escaping with a pocket mirror would be my only chance to live my life, and then I almost shattered, and then sorry, it's hard to be uh optimistic.
hmm.
Mm. Well, whatever happens, we can do it together now, right? For real this time. Mm.
For what it's worth, you do seem very real to me right now.
Mm. And I don't think she reacts like very obviously, like outwardly, but you see like kind of a small like the glimmer of of like what could be a smile on her lips. And yeah, unless you guys have anything else you want to say, I think the rest of the ride kind of goes on relatively uneventfully.
Mhm.
Hmm. And yeah, eventually you guys arrive at another platform, which seems to be yet another one of those like red velvet carpets, kind of similar to what is in the Hall of Mirrors. Curiously enough, like much like the rest of this place, like everything's kind of like floating in a big black void, and there's just like these pathways to walk on.
Hmm.
Yeah, as you guys go a little further in though, up ahead you see like kind of another little lobby area, sort of similar to like the place where you park the ellipsis, but of course further ahead. And you guys hear a bit of chattering going on around there, and some very familiar voices. You're hearing oh, I can't wait, I can't wait. Yeah, I hear this one's gonna be his best show yet. He's really gonna pull out all the stops for this one. Ooh, I can't wait to see it. And indeed, as you get closer, you see some very familiar little orange shapes with their little pointy mouths and triangular eyes, all chattering away very excitedly.
We've got company.
Hmm.
Of course, it couldn't be that easy.
You don't think these ones are going to attack us this time, are they? And then Angelique chimes in with, Well, if they try anything, they'll have to go through me first.
In that state?
She kind of pouts at you, is like, I'm better now. Heal me up. She kind of grumbles.
I think if they try anything, they'll have to go through him first.
He just kind of he's not even saying anything. I don't think he even acknowledges that Professor even says anything as he just pulls his rapier.
Yeah, she hasn't summoned her regalia yet, but she definitely looks like she's down to fight, like, the first sign of trouble.
We need to think this through. We don't know whether we should be getting into a fight.
Yeah, I mean, not all the pumpkins I saw the first time I came here were mean. Maybe these ones are just silly? I don't know. Maybe let's be ready for the worst, but try talking to them first, if that's okay.
Yes, I suppose. I'm just now wondering if I should prepare anything.
Azumi sighs and sheathes his rapier.
Alright.
Can we see much from where we are?
You can see plenty. You can see, like I said, there's a little lobby area. There's a path, like, going through it that, like, it leads off, presumably, to, like, where you guys are going. You'll just have to pass through this lobby area first. It's just, like, it's got, like, more of those, like, sort of comfortable little, like, velvety couches you've seen all throughout this place, and there's pumpkins sitting on it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, because, like, I have, like, multiple different thoughts about things, potential things, but I'm just like, which one, if any? Because, like, Crystal still has invisibility as a spell, but she does not have enough to get everyone through.
I will say, if you guys are standing around for too long, eventually Angelique just gets feds up and, like, stomps up to the pumpkins. And she just shouts at them, like, hey, what are you guys plotting over here? And the pumpkins just kind of, like, look at her, and they're still all smiles, and they're just like, oh, hi there, hi! Are you guys gonna go see the show too?
Depends.
What show is that?
The one the Prince of Gourds is putting on soon. Yeah, the Prince does the best shows. It's gonna be really, really cool. Yeah, you guys gonna go see it? It's gonna be lots of fun.
No.
Ah, and then I think one of the pumpkins kind of blows raspberry at you.
That's what we call a callback, ladies and gentlemen.
Whereabouts is this show being held?
Somewhere up ahead, right? Yeah, up ahead.
Something tells me we're not going to have much choice in this matter.
Well, if he's waiting for us, then let's keep going. Let's keep going. The longer we stay here, he might get the jump on us. Angelique kind of whispers to the rest of you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then.
Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm going to cast Mage Armor on Crystal.
Probably a good call. So yeah, I think Angelique will just start like going through the lobby, not really paying the pumpkins any mind, and A's trailing along behind her, still holding her hand. Meanwhile, the pumpkins is just like, okay, bye, have a nice day, bye.
Yeah, Azumi's just gonna follow after them.
Yeah, gonna stay close to the girls.
All right, and you guys keep going onward. This This like velvet carpet like pathway seems to go on for quite a bit longer, and for a while you guys are just kind of walking along, just like with nothing but the void on either side of you. As you're going along, though, roll a perception check.
Cool.
If we're doing a big long walk, I think Professor is gonna get over his hesitance and actually cast something.
Mm-hmm.
What's perception? Yeah. If I just do it in the right channel. Because it takes a minute to cast, but he would like to cast motivational speech at 5th level because it gets everybody in it.
That's good, and that lasts for an hour, right?
It does.
Okay, yeah, now's a good time to cast that. Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody gets let's see. I don't remember if we have all the information for the. Yeah, no, that's an AI spell. I don't think it not AI, but the acquisitions incorporated.
Acquisitions, yeah.
Yeah. Let me the important part is y'all get 15 points temp HP.
Excellent.
Nice. Actually, that reminds me that I need to also put my temporary HP points for the casting of the abjuration casting. Cool. Oh fuck, how am I gonna track that?
I mean, I'll track well, I guess you can decide which one got cast first. To determine what whether the spell is still on Crystal or not. Like, do you want to cut away at your temp HP or Professor's granted temp HP first? Because this does have perks to it.
Yeah, because I know you can't like stack temp HP. You can only get it from like one source. So.
Yeah, I get a lot more from the arcane wood, and I can use that to protect other people. So
Okay, so maybe
probably gonna go with that one.
Yeah, so maybe just cast it on like the rest of the party then.
Yeah. If she's
See, now
as
I'm just
much as he is loath to not include her in this, makes sense.
I was gonna say, and now I'm imagining it like Cross giving like this whole motivational speech to the group. Meanwhile, Crystal's just tuning them out while trying to prep her own spells.
Like, no, don't waste it. I've already got temp HP.
All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So you guys rolled your perceptions, right? Before Oatmeal posted that whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna give this one to Crystal and Azumi. You guys see like you guys, I think you guys have probably been kind of like looking straight ahead, like just following down the path. But Azumi and Crystal, you guys happen to glance to the side, and you see these images. They're kind of like paintings, but they're done in this like very sort of like childish scrawl kind of style, kind of similar to like, the art style of the rest of this place. And it's two images, and they're kind of like sort of like flipping between each other. Like it'll show one and it'll show the other. Let me get this. The first image is a drawing of A lying on the ground with like red splotches all over her chest, and Angelique standing over her holding a red heart in her hand. And the second image is Angelique like melting as though she were made of candle wax with like a horrified expression on her face, reaching up. Meanwhile, A is skipping away from her happily, completely like ignoring her in this state.
Lovely.
Oh, what is it? Out of curiosity, do you want to try and do anything to stop the girls from seeing this?
Azumi's just like, just keep going.
If you haven't seen it already, don't bother.
I think Angelique kind of scowls and is like, ugh, let me guess, it's more of his stupid drawings, isn't it?
Oh, he
Yes.
made these.
God, I
I
hate
was
when he
about to
does
say
that.
they were shit drawings.
She kind of like snickers a little at that, like, I know, right?
No point giving him any more ammunition.
But yeah, so the girls avert their eyes and do not see the mocking drawings of them, and you guys continue onward.
Mm-hmm.
And as you guys go further, you're seeing the landscape kind of shifting around you. You still got the red carpet beneath you, but you're seeing more drawings. But these ones kind of look more like they're supposed to be part of the landscape. Mostly, there are a bunch of like these green trees, again drawn to this very sort of like childish art style. It's kind of like the green part is scribbled into the lines of the trees. And as you go on further, you start to see like these sort of little tableau scenes, almost like pictures in a storybook. And I'm going to describe you to them in order. You can stop me if you want to like have you guys react to them. So the first scene is of a young girl. It's definitely not A. You can tell it doesn't look like her, but there are a lot of similarities. She's got like similar like brown hair, though her hair is long rather than like held up in braids. She's wearing a different outfit. It's got like she's like this red bow and this like kind of frilly red dress with an apron. And her features are not quite as like round and soft as A's, but rather her eyes are a lot sharper looking. And uh, And so we see the girl in red is walking down a path, following like some footsteps up to what looks like a little like storage shack, like you might find on a farm or something. And in the next scene, she's discovering someone sitting inside the shack on the hay-covered floor. It's a girl with purple hair and yellow eyes. She's wearing this like patchwork dress that looks like it's been through a lot of wear and tear. Even in like the crayon drawings, you can tell that. And she has this like sort of pointy straw hat, almost like a witch or a wizard sort of hat. It's made out of straw. And there's like a brief moment. It's this part is like sort of animated. Like you see a bit of like the girl in red, surprised to find this person in there, and then in the next scene, she's smacking this person repeatedly on the head with a broom, just over and over. And it shifts to the next scene. We see they're now inside of a house, and we see the girl in red is ordering the girl with the purple hair to clean the house up. And there's like sort of a short little animation of a girl going around and cleaning. And when it's done, the purple-haired girl, is smiling at her, and the girl in the red dress is looking a bit more sheepish. And then we go to the next scene. We see the girl in the red dress is now crouched in a field of some sort, surrounded by dirt, and she's digging a hole in the ground, and she unearths this box that has this beautiful pair of ruby red slippers with little bows on them. They're very fancy looking. Shifts to the next scene, we see her wearing them and looking delighted for a few moments. Then the animation shifts. She like turns her head as though she's seeing something. And as you guys are walking along, now the picture is sort of like walking along with you as the trees become sort of darker shades of green, almost like the landscape is shifting to nighttime. And I would do the thing where like the picture of the girl sort of passes through a tree, and then when she comes out the other side, she's now holding a lantern. And we see her going through this forest and seeing all these like strange things. Like there are these butterflies flying around here that have eyes on their wings. Um, we see a bunch of crows fly by. Curiously, one of the crows has golden feathers rather than black ones. She goes a little further. We see a golden snake coiled around a branch staring down at her. And as she goes along further, you notice there is, along with the lantern, in her other hand, there is a picnic basket, and it is filling up with these different objects. There is a bottle of a red fluid. There is a piece of bread with some sort of symbol drawn on it, like in flour on the top. And there is a little doll that resembles the purple haired girl. And as she continues to move through the scene, she passes by another tree and it shifts again. Now she's holding the basket in one arm and holding the hand of the purple-haired girl in the other. And as she eventually she stops walking, and you see she's looking at something. You guys can't see it because it's hidden behind the trees, but you see a hand extended out to her, and she reaches out and grasps the hand. And as you look closely, the hand that she's grasping, it has claws on it. And all of a sudden, the lights go out, and you hear this horrible scream. And and then the lights go on, and suddenly you're out of the forest, and all the drawings around you are gone.
Wow, that's a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
That is
Ooh.
a lot.
Mm,
I hope you're drinking water, by the way.
Yes, I am. I'm frantically taking sips in between monologues.
good.
I think that might have been Grace and Rosemary.
Yeah, that girl did look a lot like you, Angelique says. Hmm. So she brought Rosemary with her when she made the deal with the prince. And that horrible scream. She kind of shudders a little bit.
Why did Rosemary appear to be a doll for part of that? Is Rosemary a real person, or
Hmm.
an imaginary friend, or a beloved doll, or
I think Angelique chimes in at this point. She says, "Well, no, I think she just had a doll that looked like Rosemary because there was a doll in the basket, and then she was holding Rosemary's hand. So I guess she just made a doll that looked like her for some reason."
maybe?
Hmm.
How odd, though.
Considering some of the other things we've seen, it's not that far-fetched to wonder about the connection.
Hmm. Well, those look like more of his drawings, so either he's trying to tell us something or he's just mocking us again. Wouldn't be surprised if it was the latter one. She kind of grumbles.
Hard to say.
Hmm. Whatever, we need to keep moving. If this is happening, then he might be getting closer to us. We can't afford to wait around.
Agreed.
Hmm. Right. And you guys continue to move on. Eventually, you reach the end of the you reach what appears to be the end of the red velvet walkway, and it seems like it's just all void all in front of you. Curiously enough, though, Angelique takes a step, and A follows after her. Neither of them, like, fearing falling off or anything. And sure enough, they seem to step on solid ground when they reach this part. Okay, good, it's still here. Alright, the exit should be pretty close.
Oh, there was definitely a look of panic on Crystal's face when they did that.
Hmm.
I think A kind of like gets flustered for a moment, like, oh, so sorry, we should have told you, it's, there's a floor here, sorry.
Please try and communicate that before you do something like that again.
She kind of like hides her hands in her face and just kind of mumbles like, sorry.
It's all right, just something to keep in mind for the future.
Hmm. Alright, so you guys
Well,
can. Hmm?
yeah, no, go ahead.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just, we're going.
Alright. Yeah. So the rest of the journey is thankfully relatively uneventful. You go into like the Void Lake area for a little bit. It's all just blackness all around you. You come to an area where on the floor there's this like circular stained glass image depicting so let me grab this. Where is it? Okay, here it is. So yeah, it's the stained glass image depicting both A and Angelique sort of facing each other. Curiously enough, though, A is depicted wearing this little crown on her head. And it's very Kingdom Hearts-esque, I'd say. As you reach this point, though, Angelique directs your attention upward, and you see like there's this like spiraling staircase, kind of like it's like a staircase like on the inside of a tower, sort of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Right.
Can
All
I
right.
make a joke?
Please do.
I'm getting some real Kingdom Hearts vibes from this.
I mean, I said it earlier too, so. But yeah, so you guys are gonna have to climb some stairs. Fortunately, I'm not gonna make you guys roll anything for this because I'm
Okay.
nice and I love you guys.
Thank you.
Listen, I've had a previous another character have a terrible experience with like a big towering staircase. I'm not gonna put you guys through that too.
Thank
That's
you.
right. I remember that one.
If you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, do you.
All right. Okay, so one very long climb up the stairs later, which well, goes by relatively fast, curiously enough. But eventually, you finally reach the top, and up ahead, you can indeed see a gleaming gold archway up ahead of you, and let's see, I'm gonna say roll perception for this other part, just for fun.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right.
Oh, I don't think Crystal is very keen on looking around after those stairs.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'd say like
Finally, a low roll.
finally we successfully nerfed this boy for now at least. So yeah, so I'm gonna say Azumi. You see like these shapes kind of on the sides of the archway, and you can tell they're pedestals, but like with how shiny and gold everything is, it's a little hard to make out like what exactly is on the pedestals. Professor, on the other hand, with the 21, you're able to make out there are different objects on each one. Let's see, there is on one pedestal there is a fork and a knife, and I should note all these objects, much like everything else around here, is gleaming gold. So there's
Mm.
a fork and a knife on one. There is a bell with a pink ribbon on another one. There is a golden hairbrush on the third one, and on the fourth one is a pair of scissors. But these ones aren't rusty; they're very like shiny and new looking.
Mm.
Yeah, and the last pedestal is empty.
I don't like this.
Mhm.
Well,
Well, this is it. And it kind of like looks to Angelique, and Angelique's like definitely tensed up again. You can tell she's nervous about this. Sorry, I hate to admit it, I'm still a little scared, I guess.
that's understandable.
Mm,
It's normal.
hmm
You don't have to do this if you don't want to.
She shakes her head. No, I want to do this. I mean, my only other option at this point is to just keep running until I break apart again. But if even if whether I survive or not, if I can at least get A out of here and get her back her name, then well, at least my existence will have been worth something at some point. And A kind of like looks at her and like takes both her hands in her hands and says, "It's I know it's scary, but I I want to believe that everything's gonna be okay. And even if if the worst should happen, I'm never gonna forget you, Angelique. I promise. And Angelique nods at her, and she kind of mumbles to no one in particular, like, "Huh, it's stupid, but part of me kind of wishes I was some kind of like devil, like like he is, only because then I could just, I don't know, make some kind of deal with you and solve everything. Like, I don't know, I could survive and you'd get something out of it." She kind of chuckles and shakes her head. It's like, nah, that'd be stupid though. But guess, guess I gotta take a leap of faith now, right? And she'll summon the scythe to her hands. Does anyone want to say anything before she goes to put it on the pedestal?
I think we're all just prepared for something to jump out at us.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. All right. So, ooh, yeah,
He wants to say something. I'm just having trouble figuring out what it is exactly.
it's all right if you need a minute to figure it out.
No, let's just keep going. It's gonna take a hot second.
It's okay. You can always tell me later. All right. So yeah, she walks up to the pedestal, takes a few deep breaths, and then holds it up to the pedestal and lets it go. And sure enough, it floats above it, as all the rest of the objects are doing. And once that one is in place, all the objects begin to glow, and they all sort of float into the same point, like in the center of the room, right in front of the gate. And A reaches into her pocket and takes out a pocket mirror, almost like she's compelled to take it out and add it to the objects. And she holds it up, and all of the items coalesce around it. They spin around her until like they start to blur together, and it just looks like this golden ring around her, getting closer and closer. And eventually, they all converge into one point, and there is this blinding flash of like golden light. Um, and when it eventually dissipates, you see she is holding in her hands not the pocket mirror anymore, but a little crown similar to the one depicted in the stained glass at the bottom of the staircase. And she looks over it for a moment, sort of like turns it around and examines it, and she's looking at like kind of the rim of it, like at the bottom part of it, and she lets out a surprised little gasp, and she turns around and holds the crown out for you guys to see, and you guys can see engraved into like the bottom rim of the crown is the name Aurelia. And I'll type
Ooh.
that, yeah, I'll type
Oh,
that out
that's
for you
so
guys.
cool.
That is a
Hang on,
cute
I missed a
name,
letter.
though.
Yeah,
Eee.
there we go. And notably, throughout that whole thing, Angelique is still intact. She hasn't shattered or anything. She kind of like held her hand up to her eyes, to sort of like block out the light. But other than that, she's not cracked. She seems like perfectly fine.
Wow. It appears that you have your name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It suits you.
yeah. She kind of like mumbles it to herself a couple of times. Aurelia, Aurelia. Yeah, that feels right. It feels like it's. She kind of like starts to laugh a little bit, and she is just like smiling, like brighter than you have ever seen her the entire time she's been here. And she says, "Aurelia, my name's Aurelia, you guys." And she's kind of just like smiling and laughing and like holding the crown to her chest. And you see Angelique's kind of smiling, a smaller, more reserved smile at her, but she's clearly happy for her. But slowly but surely, that expression falls from her face, and she mumbles, uh, just like barely audibly enough for you all to hear. This was... What? Nothing happened. Why didn't... No, something's wrong. This was too easy. And then, like, she sort of jolts, like something like a chill just ran down her back. And she reaches out and she's about to scream, Aurelia! And before she can finish that, she vanishes in this cloud of like these little stars and sparkles that are like look like they've been drawn with crayon. And it's a very similar teleportation. So it's very similar teleportation sort of effect that you first saw when you were in Lilibet's throne room. And as this happens, before you guys even have time to process her disappearing, you guys hear, well done, everyone, well done. That was quite the exemplary performance.
Uh,
Oh, you're done dicking around already. It's about damn time.
All right, and I'm going to request we take a quick break here because after this point I'm going to have a lot to say, so I want to be prepared for
Alright.
that.
You're so valid.
All right,
Yeah.
we're going to pause here for a bit. And we are back. So, you guys hear the menacing slow clap, and you all turn to see none other than the Prince of Gourds strutting up to you guys with that same sharp-toothed grin on his face, looking very, very satisfied with himself.
What?
I think A is kind of hiding behind you guys, but she pokes her head out from behind you all and says, where's Angelique? What did you do with her? He kind of like cocks his head to the side a little bit and grins at her and says, My, I see your memory's still terrible, isn't it? Didn't I already tell you back in the throne room what I was planning to do with her? She's earned herself quite a bit of discipline for disobeying me, but I wouldn't concern yourselves with her right now. After all, we have a bit of unfinished business to attend to, don't we?
Oh, you're so fucking pretentious.
He doesn't seem very fazed by that comment. He snaps his fingers, and the three pieces of paper go flying out of A's pocket.
Hey.
And yeah. No, she reaches up to try and grab at them, but they're a little bit too fast for her. But yeah, they fly out of the pocket, fly to him, kind of spin around him in a circle. Before there's a smaller flash of light, in that same sort of like crayon stars and sparkles sort of look. And then they've all now merged into a single piece of paper. And he holds it in his hand and kind of like looks up and down. And says, well, I see you've managed to fulfill both of my requests, so I certainly owe you the information I promised, now don't I?
And how do we know for certain you're just not fibbing again?
He kind of like chuckles at you a little bit. Well, I suppose I could be, but you know what they say about truth being stranger than fiction? Besides, I prefer to sprinkle a bit more truth into my shows. It adds a bit more, a little je ne sais quoi to them, so to speak.
Oh, so you just suck ass at being creative.
No, I wouldn't say that. I just
No, based on everything I've seen up until now, you just suck shit at everything.
my feisty as ever, I see. Still, I'm not going to force all of you to come and watch if you don't want to. I mean, the only one this is really relevant to is the little missy. Or should I say, Aurelia. Isn't it nice to finally be able to say the whole thing?
Take that word out of your mouth, you goddamn heathen!
Anyways, he points at you guys, or rather behind you guys, at where the gateway is. And he says, the three of you can leave if you'd like. In the meantime, I would like to speak to the little lady, if you'd permit me.
No, I think
Oh,
we'd rather stay.
I have a better
Absolutely
idea.
not.
I have a better idea. Azumi flips the Prince of Gourds off.
Yeah,
He's
he
wanted
just
to, he's wanted to do that since episode 1, so
he just like throws back his head and cackles at you. He's just so very amused by this. Oh, this is delightful. I really should have brought in a few extra people when darn, what's the word? When I came up with this whole thing. You have no idea how refreshing it is to have someone who actually fights back against me. Little Aurelia's reactions are always so utterly milquetoast and just dull. Nothing.
What does that say about you? Someone who feels like they can only pick on a child?
Well, it's not only limited to children, but, well, they do make awfully decent targets for my. Well, I'll get
oh, so
into
you're
that
just
later.
going for easy prey. Oh, you just don't want to put in the effort for anything, do you? You put lackluster drawings. Seriously, I've seen children draw better than you.
Oh, now that's a little bit hurtful, isn't it? I mean, everyone has their
Oh,
own
go
style,
fuck
don't they?
yourself. Go fuck yourself.
Well, we can stand around
But
arguing,
honest,
or you all can come along.
Arguing sounds more fun right now.
I have
Well,
quite a bit I can say right now.
well, I'm beginning to grow a bit tired of this, so he snaps his fingers, and the scene around you changes. You're still in this like endless black void. You're a little bit further away from the gate, but it's still in your sights. It's pretty easy to see anything that stands out around here since there's nothing much else to see. But now you guys are currently in front of this big stage. It's like risen up a little bit higher from the floor. It's all made of wood. Has these big ornate red curtains. It's also the curtains are still like kind of in that style of like what this area has been in, though it's like one of the slightly more detailed drawings, quote unquote.
Hmm.
And he appears on the stage. He's got his own like little like throne off to the side, where he's like kind of sitting down, almost like he's about to do story time or something. And in the audience area, you can see like a few pumpkins are gathered here, but also there is another throne, slightly different from his, a little bit smaller, but still very ornate. And next to that fancy chair is three very cruddy looking wooden stools. Like they're kind of lopsided, and you get this feeling that like sitting on them, you're likely to get a splinter. Clearly, these were put here like as an afterthought.
Nah. I think Professor's just gonna kick one over and then just remain standing. Cross his arms.
Literally what we wanted to do too.
I don't know about kick him
Literally,
over.
we're actually we wanted to throw one right at the Prince of Gourds, but
I mean, you can try. I'm not going to stop you.
is anybody else gonna stop him?
Oh, does he
No,
have a straight shot? Then no.
All right, you
Is that a
yeeting the
no to
stool?
like not stopping him?
Pardon?
No.
I'm confused. Is anyone throwing it, or is anybody stopping him, or
No. I don't think
no.
so.
Doesn't sound like
I
it.
guess I'm rolling strength.
Yeah, let's see what your roll is. Actually, yeah, we'll do like contesting strength rolls because he's gonna try to bat it away from you. Let's see. Oh wow, that
Oh my
barely.
god!
Wow, huh?
What the? Also, hang on. Maki just unlocked the door on her own. Hi, baby.
Maki.
Lucky. Very important kitty break. Alright, we're gonna pause for a moment. Okay. Kitty is committing mischief. Anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you chuck the chair at him. I think he bats it away partially, like with his big staff that is like the pumpkin dangling at the end. It shatters on impact, but like um one of the legs like breaks off and like smacks him in the forehead. Yeah, he kind of like his head goes back like a little bit from the impact, and then it just slowly leans down, and he's just like still grinning at you, and he just like very sarcastically says, "Ouch."
Crystal is just handing me nice shot. Would you like to use my chair?
Oh, gladly. if he's not stopped, he will do it again.
Oh God.
Alright, you throw this chair. This time around, he just raises his hand and it stops in midair. And he just kind of like shakes his head, like doing the like tisk 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 sort of thing at you, and is saying, "Oh, I do hate dealing with an unruly audience, but I suppose." Hang on, shoot, sorry, forgetting the words. Oh, I do hate dealing with an unruly audience, but I can easily remedy the situation. And he snaps his fingers. Azumi, a chair appears behind you, and these shadowy tendrils come bursting out of it, grab you by the arms, and suddenly you are like restrained to this chair. It's got like your arms on the armrest and like more tendrils like around your waist so that you can't move.
All right, come on.
Well, if you wanted to go in that direction, you could have just taken me to dinner first.
Professor pulls his hand out his face, like, come on.
A is giving like a very confused look. She has no idea what you mean, and honestly, it's probably for the best that she doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, he cannot stop.
Terrible, terrible detective boy.
Actually, I feel like since A is here, I think Crystal might say something along the lines of like, "Come now, Azumi, there are children here."
Oh, right. That includes the Prince of Gourds, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's like still grinning, and he says like, you're very sweet, but I'm not really into mortals. No offense.
Oh, yeah, I would have dumped you in the first 5 seconds anyway.
Ooh, ouch, hurtful. Keep that up, and I might have to shut you up as well.
Sorry, he just gave me a flirtatious wink, so do with that what you will.
Okay, this bit's going on a bit too long. He snaps his fingers, and more of his tendrils shoot out and cover your mouth this time. Your nose is still fine, so you can still breathe, but unfortunately, Azumi's been shut up now.
He didn't even say anything!
Oh my goodness.
So, he said enough with that wink, let's be honest. Anyway, the prince looks at the rest of the party and says, "Now then, does anyone else want to kick up a fuss, or can we get the show going already?"
I think Professor just sighs. He's not saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Crystal looks kind of sullen, but this is like she doesn't. Normal circumstances she wouldn't, but this is not normal circumstances. They need to try and play this at least somewhat smart.
Mm-hmm. There,
I think
I'm so sorry, Azumi. He's so fucking petty.
no, it's fine,
well,
man.
I was gonna say, like, as soon as he gets started, I think the professor's gonna like go to Azumi and try and like free him.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, unfortunately, like, even if you try to cut through these things, they are very tough. In fact, you might, like, briefly get your hand stuck to one. At some point, if you pull hard enough, you can get it off at least. But yeah, unfortunately, whatever he's doing, it's not letting him go very easily.
He'd like to at least get
Make an attempt.
the gag off.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm gonna say like with enough work, like if you keep at it for long enough, you can probably at least like peel the gag off his face.
Yeah, he
Especially
will.
because, yeah, the good news is that now that the prince is like starting the show, so to speak, he's like his attention's taken off Azumi slightly. So whatever he's doing, he's not like putting his focus on like keeping up these restraints.
Yeah. Professor is paying attention. He's just also doing this.
Yeah, I think while you're doing this, A is kind
Crystal's
of like,
gonna
yeah,
Crystal's gonna stick close to A, I think, so that
yeah.
she's not by herself.
I was gonna say while the
Yeah.
two of you are doing this, A is like kind of clinging to Crystal a little bit. She won't hold her hand if you're uncomfortable with it, but she's at least like maybe clinging to the edge of your lab coat.
I mean, like, if she wants, like, Crystal will put an arm around her, sort of like keep her close to her side, kind of thing.
Definitely. With that all out of the way, though, so yeah, so the prince takes his seat back in his little throne on the stage, clears his throat, and says, "Now then, where to begin? Well, I suppose, like all good stories, we should start at the very beginning." And he snaps his fingers, and the stage lights go dim, and there's a spotlight in the center of the stage. And instead of actors, he produces these like cardboard cutouts of people, again in that very sort of childish scrawl kind of similar style to his other drawings. This one depicts an older woman. She has like kind of one of those like traditional like sort of headscarves on her head, like not like the fully covered one, but like you kind of like the old grandma sort of look.
Babushka.
Yeah, kind of like that sort of idea.
Mm-hmm.
And the backdrop behind her is like these little buildings. It looks like sort of like a very quaint like country sort of village behind her. And there's also like some trees and stuff, that sort of thing. And he says, once, once upon a time, in a quaint little village somewhere in Varuma, there lived an old woman by the name of Hofla. And I'll put the spelling for that here for those who are curious. She so desperately wanted a child, but never managed to have one. She was getting on in years and got pretty desperate. So much so, in fact, that she came to me begging for my help. It was a tricky wish to grant, I'll admit. One can't simply conjure a child out of thin air, after all. But fortunately for her, she lived in a village that was right on the border of a rather potently magic forest, one overseen by a rather powerful hag known as Valberga. I borrowed a little bit of her power, and thus Grace was born within the proverbial womb of the Valbergis woods. And he kind of snickers a little bit to himself and says, "That's right, my dear. Neither you nor your mother would even exist if not for my intervention. So I suppose, in a twisted sort of way, that would technically make me your grandfather, wouldn't it?" And then he throws back his head and cackles and says, "No, no, that isn't true. I could never call him your mortal family, even as a joke." And he continues, "Anyway, as fate would have it, Grace was destined to return to me one day, when her life of drudgery and hard labor became too much to bear." And he snaps his fingers again, and the scene changes to show the old woman is still there, but now the girl that you saw in the previous that previous area, the one with the red dress and the sort of sharper features, who was presumably and now confirmed to be Grace, or a much younger Grace at the very least, shows her smiling next to the old woman. And he continues, "She wasn't much older than you are now when her mother, or Granny, as she'd taken to calling her, passed away from old age." And the scene changes again. The old woman is now gone. Grace on the stage is looking a lot sadder. And then it shifts again to show her running around, sort of like running back and forth around town, with like all sorts of cleaning implements or like eggs from a chicken coop, like running around doing chores from the look of it. Without someone to provide for her, Grace was forced to earn a living performing odd jobs for the people in the village, barely scraping together enough coin to keep herself fed each day. And oh, how she grew to resent them as time went on. And the scene changes, and we show Grace looking a lot more like kind of haughty, with like her hands on her hips. And his voice actually changes to sound like presumably almost identical to what she would have sounded like back then.
Mm.
And it says, "They're always bossing me around and making me work my fingers to the bone. I should be the one ordering them around. How I wish I was wealthy. Then I could spend my days being waited on hand and foot, gorging myself on the finest sweets and juiciest steaks, dressed in the most gorgeous of gowns." And he lets out another laugh, and he says, "Quite the self-absorbed little munter, wasn't she?" Still, one can't blame a person for wanting to follow their desires, and she seemed quite determined to fulfill her wish by any means necessary. So, seeing her potential, I extended an invitation to her in the form of those pretty red shoes she found. And indeed, the scene shifts to the one you saw previously of her digging the dirt, presumably some kind of garden or field, and coming across the red shoes in a box. And it shows her like wearing the shoes, looking very haughty and pleased with herself. She's kind of doing the Ojo Sama laugh, you know, the one with the hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then the scene shifts once more to show her in the deep dark forest with only a lantern to guide herself, and she's now wearing the red shoes on her feet. And he continues, "She had to undergo a few trials to prove her worth, gather some gifts to present me with, etc. I won't bore you with the details, unless one of you is interested in making a deal with me, that is."
Azumi rolls his eyes, like very exaggerated.
Didn't think
Not
so.
likely.
It's not that difficult, really. It's not unlike bringing a gift to the host of a dinner party. Some bread and wine, mixed with a bit of blood sacrifice for flavor. Oh, and an extra dinner guest, of course. Because what fun is a feast without good company? After all, if I'm going to be extending my power to someone, then I need a decent main course to fill my stomach first. And at this point, A kind of squeaks in terror and has this horrified look on her face. She kind of, I think, clutches Crystal a little bit closer.
Yeah, she'll give her a bit of like a squeeze, like, it's okay, like, yeah, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I said she was determined, didn't I? Determined enough that she was willing to sacrifice her beloved Rosemary to me in exchange for a wish. And he snaps his fingers again. The scene changes, and we show a horrified-looking Grace on one side, and the purple-haired girl, who's now been revealed to be Rosemary, sort of like looking oddly content as she sort of has her arms out in pose, like she's ready to be taken almost. And we see the cardboard cut out. Some unseen force is tearing it to pieces, bit by bit, until there's nothing left. And he continues, "Don't feel too bad for her, though. Rosemary had known of her fate beforehand. She saw it in the stars and in her dreams. She was more than happy to be sacrificed to her so her so-called soulmate could be happy."
Well, this is dark.
Mm-hmm. And A is gone, of course, very quiet, still clutching Crystal very tightly, and she's kind of like, yeah.
Sorry, Crystal has like a whole bunch of things, like snarky comments she wants to make, but she can't right now because she's looking after A.
Exactly. Yeah, A is not very much for the snarking. She is just like completely stunned now that this. I mean, of course, she had her suspicions beforehand. You all did, but to hear it finally be confirmed that her mother actually did this, well, it's definitely a bit of a shock to her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At any rate, he continues. The scene shifts to the backdrop for the village is now gone, and in its place is the backdrop for like sort of a fancy ballroom. There's like silhouettes of cardboard cutouts sort of dancing in the background, kind of similar to the scene you saw in Lyra's area. Like all these faceless people dressed in fine clothes, chatting away with each other. And in the center of the scene is Grace, who's now dressed in a much fancier gown, looking downright miserable. And he continues. And so Grace got everything her twisted little heart desires. And he snaps his fingers, and appearing next to her is you would recognize as A's father, though a much younger version of him. As he continues to talk, the scene shifts, and we see both of them like growing up, getting older until they've reached their adulthood. As he continues, I found a wealthy count, whom I made fall hopelessly in love with her, and she had the life of luxury she'd always wanted. Of course, she wasn't satisfied in the she wasn't the least bit satisfied. Her life felt so empty without her beloved Rosemary in it. All the riches in the world wouldn't be able to fill the hole left in her heart. No, the only thing it was filled with now was regret. And the the tone in his voice when he says that, there is just this sense of like absolute glee and like hunger. Like he's talking about like he's describing a delicious like roast turkey or a cake or something. Hang on, let me get a sip of water. uh, he claps his hands, and the scene and the backdrop and the cardboard cutouts disappear for a bit. And now the spotlight is back on him, sitting on his throne. And he continues. By the way, did you know that souls have different flavors? It's something a soul develops over time as a person lives their life. Experience paints the soul with a palette of delectable seasonings that we devils simply can't resist. Fear, suffering, anguish, misery. The more tormented a soul was in life, the more delicious it is when we finally devour it. But do you know what my personal favorite is? The thing that makes a soul tastier than anything else?
Is Azumi's wrist like able to turn around because he want to flip the Prince of Gourds off again?
I'm gonna say no, just because this guy is enough of an ass that he would specifically like tie your wrist down in a way so that you can't get the satisfaction of flipping him off again.
He just kind of rolls his eyes then.
Alright, since no one's answering, he's just gonna keep going.
Mm.
Regrets, that's what. There's something about those who can't fully commit to their innermost desires that I can't resist. Doesn't matter if they regret it immediately or if they take their time simmering on it. What I want is that heavy, painful burden humans carry in their hearts and minds after they've done something truly despicable. And he glances down and he's looking directly at A now. And that grin just spreads across his face even further, and he says, I was there the night she died, you know. And
Yeah, Crystal's shifting her a little bit behind her.
I think at this point, though, unfortunately, A kind of like gasps and like just like unconsciously like glances up at him when he says that, and he grins. He continues, and the look of regret she had. You know that broken sort of look you humans have on your faces, the one right after you realize you've made a big mistake. Grace's look of regret was truly, oh, I don't even have the words to describe it. And it wasn't just Rosemary's sacrifice that fed it. Oh no. Because the day you were born, Aurelia, her regrets must have multiplied tenfold. For you see, it's so easy to promise the life of some theoretical child that doesn't even exist. But when you're holding that little baby in your arms, well, I'm sure most people would start to feel a twinge of regret. and she was no exception. And it's at this point that Aurelia finally speaks up, again looking quite shocked, and she says, "Wait, what do you mean, life? You took my..." And she's stumbling over her words, and the prince just lets out another cackle at her and says, "Oh, did I forget to mention that part? You didn't think I only wanted your name, did you? No, no, no. That was just a bit of collateral to ensure Grace kept her end of the deal. You see, the gifts she brought me weren't the price she paid for our deal. That was just so she could have the honor of meeting me. But what I've been after all this time, thing I've been craving more than anything, is you, Aurelia. I want to devour that soul of yours and absorb all the power that courses through it."
Why?
Sorry, Azumi has the most deadpan expression on his face. Like, I'm trying to I want to try to explain how he looks.
Please do.
He thinks that the Prince of Gourds is just some B-rated villain.
I've finally figured out what Crystal's like. The words for what Crystal's got for that was, yeah, good luck with that.
Oh, what? Are you all going to stop me?
Untie him from this chair and find out, you little fuck.
He grins
Why?
at you. Oh, sorry. Hey, let me get my stuff in order. Why? Well, that's simply what devils do. We feed off the souls of humans. It provides us not only sustenance, but it increases our power quite a bit. That's why we bother with making deals. A soul given away willingly is quite a bit easier to obtain than one taken by force, after all.
So that's why you want her specifically.
Indeed it is. And this one in particular I've wanted quite a bit. You have no idea how much trouble it's been to get her soul.
But why?
Well, a few reasons. To begin with, her mother's infernal meddling, not to mention those charming little reflections of hers getting in my way. See, Grace wasn't exactly satisfied keeping one child and giving me the other, which is what we had originally agreed upon. In fact, if we had done things the traditional way, then your brother would have been the one on my plate. But she insisted to be the second-born child instead. That seems like a fair trade, doesn't it? One to keep and one to give away? But no, she just was never satisfied. She had to go give an enchanted little bauble from that cleric friend of hers, just so I couldn't get close to you and steal you away. And at this point, there's actually like a bit of venom like tinting his words. He's been jovial and like and cloying this entire time, but he's like actually sounding a lot more angry now. And I don't know if it's intimidating you guys, but it's certainly intimidating A. She is just cowering behind Crystal at this point.
Mm.
Can I cast a spell?
God.
What spell do you want to cast?
Protection from good and evil.
You want to try and cast that?
Sure. What do I need to do? It's technically a touch spell, and she's casting it on. She's trying to cast it on A.
Yeah, you do that. Get counterspelled, unfortunately. Yeah.
Fucking God.
and he says to you, "I wouldn't do that if I were you. See, all of you aren't involved in this deal, and you're free to go, but if you try to get in my way, well, I might just have to have a few hors d'oeuvres before I get to the main meal, if you catch my drift. And I think A even says, like kind of looks up at you and says, like, don't make him any angrier at all, please. I don't want you guys to get hurt too.
We're not letting him take you.
Oh, I'm afraid it's much too late for that, my dears. And he snaps his fingers, and Aurelia is gone. She teleports away in that same cloud of stars, and as that Angelique disappeared in, and she reappears on the stage, but now she is tied to that ornate chair that was originally down in the audience area, but now it's up on the stage.
Okay. Professor wants to teleport to the stage.
My fucking god.
Go for it.
Okay, he has Misty Step, so he's
Mhm.
going to use Misty Step, which takes him 30 feet, presumably onto the stage.
Mhm.
And he just wants to stand between Aurelia and the Prince of Gourds. He looks very, very ticked off.
And he just grins at you. He stands up from his throne and he says, "My, isn't that unfortunate? You really have gotten attached to her, haven't you?"
Finish your dumb story.
Very well. I did have a little bit more to go through. Where was I? Yes, I mentioned the manner of the pocket mirror protecting her, but, well, unfortunately that enchantment could only last so long. Eventually, I had the opportunity to get near her again. And even better, Grace had died at that point, so she couldn't get in my way. Unfortunately for me, though, something happened that, well, I doubt even Grace could have predicted. And he holds up the letter again, and he says, uh, hang on, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the words for this.
Mhm.
Alright. You read her last words, and you just broke, shattered into a bunch of little pieces, and what was left? Well, I thought it wouldn't be a problem. I mean, a soul is a soul, even if there's a few extra consciousness riding along for the ride. Unfortunately, though, I ran into a bit of an obstacle. And he snaps his fingers again, and in the background of the stage, three spotlights appear, and under each of the spotlights is a large wooden stake that's kind of like uh, into the ground. I'm blanking on the word for it. Like drilled into the ground. Is that the word?
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm.
Basically, these three wooden stakes sticking up from the ground, and tied to each one of them, one stake. And as the spotlights go on, he says in tandem with each one, um, Colette and her little doll, Lyra, and Evelyn. See what the problem is here? None of them would answer to the name that I was given. And thus I couldn't collect the soul properly because they were in my way. So I had to get a little bit creative. I knew that there had to be some identity rattling around in that empty little head of hers that would answer to the name I was given. I just had to find a way to draw it out and remind it of who it truly was. And thus I created this place. I've made demi-planes like this in the past before, made ones that reflect the desires of my contractee, one of my many little trials for them to see if they're worthy of making a deal with me. And this one is no different. It's not exactly a mindscape at all, merely somewhere where the whole group of them could live out their desires of having bodies to call their own, shaping their own little areas themselves, with a few minor adjustments for myself for the sake of my own entertainment. And so I set her off, little Regalia, to wander this place, gather the pieces of her name, and gradually recall who she was. It would have been much more convenient if I could have done it sooner, but, well, that's the thing with memories. You could tell someone their entire life story, but it wouldn't necessarily stick if you gave it all at once. All Everything was coming together until, well, uh, one of my own creations decided to be disobedient and go off script, so to speak. And he snaps his fingers one more time, and behind the three wooden stakes where all the other girls are tied up, there is a much larger wooden cross towering above them. And tied to that cross with these thorny vines that jab into her all over and cause her to bleed is Angelique. She is struggling to get out of it, and is making little grunts of effort, but there are several vines coiled very tightly around her throat, so she can't speak. All she can do is struggle and glare down at him. Alright, I'm gonna say out of character, that's pretty much the end of, like, the big monologue, so if you guys want to react, now's your chance. Thank you for putting up with all of that talking, because that was a lot.
It was.
Oh
It
yeah,
was
it was
good.
good.
Azumi's been struggling around the time A got transported onto the stage,
Yeah,
so I don't know if.
yeah, I'm gonna say at this point, like, he's kind of been focusing his magic on other stuff, like all the little illusions and things for the spectacle that he's been putting on. So at this point, I think Azumi would be able to bust out of the chair.
Yeah, Crystal was also as soon as that happened, she went over to help him. Got a dagger out to try and
Yeah.
actually cut through the tendrils.
Yeah. So the good news is Azumi's free. Bad news is that he's got like a whole bunch more hostages, not just A.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Because he just wants to shoot the bastard.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've had quite enough, and it's time that you leave.
Oh, trust me, I'll be happy to leave you three alone once I've finished my business with her.
No.
Oh my god, can you just give it a rest? I mean, you already know we're not going to leave anytime soon. So, why don't we just skip ahead and get to the point?
Well, here's the thing. You all are on my turf right now, and if I so willed it, I could just wave my hand and teleport you far, far away from here, giving you plenty of time to dine on her soul. But you all seem rather invested, so I have a question for you. What would you be willing to give up to save her?
My ass! Azumi's gonna leap over the audience. And he's going to get on the stage too.
I will say when he says that, you hear a few Lyra and the other girls have their mouths covered as well, kind of similar to what happened to Azumi. Lyra gives like a few grunts, like disapproving grunts at this.
His ass.
like Lyra knows that they're in trouble right now. They're probably about to die, but also stop swearing in front of A. Gosh darn it.
I don't think you want to know what we can do. But if you insist, we'll show you.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not really all that interested in fighting you if I'm not getting anything out of it.
I'm not just going to give you things. Don't be ridiculous.
Well, again, I will remind you, you're in my world now, and I have control over everything here, so you're not going to get very far unless I allow you to. However,
Oh God, hang on.
Oh yeah?
Hang on.
Uh-oh.
Horrendous idea.
Oh boy.
Uh-huh.
Azumi's got a lot of regret, and he really did just handed me wanting to put that on the stage just to get the fight started, because he wants to rip and tear this bitch to shreds.
Can I, as a reason I've been keeping quiet, because I think Crystal might be headed along similar lines of not being sure if they can fight this, and she sure does have a lot of regret as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Prof is going to bend on this one. He still thinks he can win.
All right, I will say he has a little bit more to say, unfortunately, but yeah. All right. Oh, I shouldn't. I really should quit while I'm ahead, but oh, it would just be so much fun. All right, I think we can come to an agreement. How about this? We can have our little fight. If I win, then I'll let all of them go and I'll leave them be. Rip the contract up and they'll be able to live their well, I can't say happy little lives. Their lives have been anything but that. However, if I come out the victor in this little battle of ours, I get her soul, and I get yours as well.
You
You're a
can
demon,
try.
right? You're a
Oh,
demon, right?
devil, there's a difference.
Oh, fuck off. Demon, devil, you both bleed the same. See, the funny thing is, if you do prefer regret, and you don't have an innate sense for it, you're kind of bad at picking your targets.
Oh, I think this one has plenty of regrets to go around. And he goes over to A and he just kind of like pats her on the head a couple of times, very condescendingly.
Professor would block him because that's where he is.
Fair enough. Honestly, this guy's enough of an ass that he'd probably just like teleport behind Professor specifically just to do this little gesture, then teleport back to where he was. He is that much of an ass.
Teleports behind you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that annoys Professor.
Yep. But no, I think she has plenty of regrets, really. Her entire life could be considered a regret. It really is tragic. Grace's last little act to try and protect her daughter, and, well, it's brought you nothing but misery your entire life. Not just you, but also for your little reflections. Really, would dying be such a bad thing? It'd at the very least spare you from your continued torments. And there's a little something special about those who give their souls to me for one of our deals. See, I'm a bit sentimental when it comes to my contractees. I don't quite like to give them up even after they're dead. So I turn them into this. And he snaps his fingers, and he creates, you can tell this is an illusion with the way it's wavering, but uh, some sort of maiden, like a woman of some sort. You can't really tell who it is. It's nobody you guys know. But her entire body, it's like slightly translucent, and it is all golden, which you can tell has kind of been very much a theme here. I take what's left of them, their lingering consciousness, and I turn them into one of my servants, golden maidens. And I keep them around with me. Sometimes I have them do little tasks for me. Most of the time, I just let them stand around and look pretty. Honestly, I'm a lot kinder to my servants than most devils would be. So, in that sense, even if I were to take her soul, she wouldn't be gone entirely.
Good point.
You're the worst.
Oh, I am, aren't I? He grins at you.
I am going to cut your head off and put it on a pike for the rest of the hells to see.
I'd like to see you try. I am curious,
Azumi's
though.
gonna reach.
Oh.
Azumi's gonna reach for his gun.
Before you do that, I'd like to see what little Aurelia thinks of all this. For you see, as I mentioned, all of my contractees are eventually destined to become golden maidens, not just the ones sacrificed for ideals, but also the ones who simply make the contracts with me. In other words, and Aurelia's eyes go wide as she says, "My mother, you have her, don't you?" And actually, I think he's just gonna like straight up like do the just evil cackle. Let me take a sip of water before I do this and ruin my throat.
Oh, have fun. Cackles are fun.
All right. That's right, my dear child. If you come with me and accept your fate, then I might just let you see your dear sweet mother again. Now wouldn't that be much nicer than living your miserable existence, struggling to be accepted in a world that simply doesn't want you? No family to call your own, nowhere to go.
It wouldn't actually be your mother.
Oh no, it
It would
would
be
be, I
one of his
assure you.
servants.
No, it is her, or what's left of her, I suppose, but it is derived
Can
from
you
the
shut up for
consciousness.
5 seconds? Oh my gods! All you've done so far is nothing but talk and talk and talk and talk. I'm sick and tired.
Well, if you're
Actually
so...
put some substance behind your words for once in your goddamn life. For all I know, you could have been gloating this entire time. Maybe you don't actually have the power to take her soul. Maybe you're stalling.
Oh, really? Do you really want to stress test this? And he looks at Aurelia. Aurelia looks at you and just like shaking your head like, no, please don't go down this route. Stop, like egging him on.
Professor is also giving Azumi somewhat of a glare, like
Yeah.
let's
You
don't
want to
like
fight. You wanted the fight.
Well, I'm interested in a fight, but it's not required unless you all agree to this deal.
which is
The one he said earlier, where like, if you guys agree to fight him, if you guys win, he'll leave Aurelia and the rest of her system alone. But if he wins, then he gets your guys' souls. And I think at this point, Aurelia, she kind of like hangs her head low and she says, "You, you all should, you all should just go. You should get out of here while you still can. While he's letting you, please."
no.
No.
That's not your choice to make.
But please, I don't want more people to get hurt. I don't want your souls to be
That's
taken
not
too.
that's not your choice, Aurelia.
Besides, he's wrong.
Honestly.
You're just you're really just starting your life. You've made up with your alters. You've come to a place with better care, a place with nicer people. You've got a lot to live for.
If I can drag myself out of the dirt kicking and screaming, then all of you, all 5 of you, can do the same.
No matter
This
what
is-
happens here today, there is going to be someone who cares about your well-being.
And Aurelia looks at all of you, and she glances over at where her altars are still tied up, and they all kind of exchange glances with another, and they all seem to come to the same conclusion. They still can't speak, but they all nod in her direction with very determined looks in all of their eyes. And the prince steps forward to you guys, and he holds out a hand and says, "So, do we have a deal then?"
You know what? I think Crystal might be the one to step forward to shake it, because this is kind of like twofold in that she's also Fae, so this is kind of her way of making sure he can't back out of his deal.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah. He takes your hand, shakes it, and you feel a slight burning sensation on the back of your palm, and you look at it, and it is embedded with. I have to decide which symbol it is, because there's one in the game that's like it's like kind of a rod, and then these 6 circles with 3 on either side of it. But he also has been associated with like eyes, like specifically the vertical pupil eye. I'm trying to decide. I think you probably go with the vertical pupil one, like the eye with the
Okay.
vertical pupil. Yeah, because either one could be associated with him. So okay, so yeah, so you feel the burning sensation on the back of your palm, and you see this symbol of an eye with a vertical pupil, much like a goat's eye, is now on there. And he glances over at Azumi and Professor, and the both of you, unless you'd like her to fight me up all by herself.
Don't be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Professor offers his hand.
Mm-hmm. All right, he shakes it. You get the eye on the back of your palm as well. He looks to Azumi.
I'm going to kick your ass. And then when I get to hell, I am going to tear you apart all over again. And he's going to shake his hand.
All right. Once again, you get the burning sensation and the eye on the back of your palm, and he grins with those sharp, sharp teeth of his and says, "I'd like to see you try." And he snaps his fingers, and you guys are you're on like kind of the big wide open area that's in front of the stage. All the girls are still stuck on the stage, tied down in their various ways. And once we do this fight proper, I'll have a battle map for us. But that's basically you guys are on one side, he's on the opposite side. This kind of wide open area. And look at this. And so yeah, he smiles at you, brandishing his cane that has the pumpkin hanging from it, and the fire within like the pumpkin seems to burn even brighter. So there's a little bit of flame shooting out of its eyes and mouth. And he says to Zumi specifically, but really to all of you, "I'd like to see you try." But when you all are lying on the ground defeated, knowing that you've lost everything, trying to protect someone who was already doomed from the start, I'm going to savor every last ounce of regret your souls hold down to the very last drop. And that is where we will end our session for tonight.
Nice.
Yay. Ah.
I once again apologize for how petty Azumi was this entire time.
No, it was wonderful. Thank you so much.
It was very good.
It was
It
awesome.
was great.
Listen, I had a feeling that like somebody was gonna, fight back, and I prepared for it.
Yeah,
Probably
no,
a smart move.
yeah.
But yeah, when we have our next session, that will be the finale for this campaign.
Woo! Ah, thank you for
Yee.
running this. It was lovely.
Thank
This
you.
was good.
Thank you so much for putting up with all of my monologuing.
It
Yay.
was good.
It was good stuff.
Thank you. All right, I am going to stop the recording for now, but I would like to wish everybody listening in the future a very good time zone. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.